Hi, everybody. It's Melissa. Sorry about the late start. I I just lost track of time. I was busy working on some stuff for a new listing I have coming up and completely forgot. So, um, today let's talk about home inspections. If you have purchased a home in the last, I don't know, 5, 10 years, 2 years, 1 year, raise your hand or make a comment or something and let me know that you have purchased a home at some point in your life. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this based on a class that I took recently from Home Team Inspection, Steve Vogel. So thank you for this class. I'm going to use some of the key things that I learned from you, and I'm going to share it with those who are watching today. So here's some important questions you want to ask your home inspector when you go to purchase a home and you have a home inspection done. It is not required, by the way, you guys. You do not have to have a home inspection. However, it is definitely to your benefit. That way, if anything were wrong that you can't see with the naked eye, you would know what you're getting yourself into before you sign on that dotted line. So, that being said, important questions to ask your home inspector. You ready? One, has he or she been professionally trained? And if so, where? How about how much experience does he or she have? I don't know about you, but I think I want someone who's maybe not in training. How many years have they been in the business? How many inspections have they done? Is the property inspection their only in business, or are they one of those jack of all trades? Do they belong to any professional organizations? If so, which ones? Could it Chamber of Commerce? Could it be some networking groups? Could it be the Better Business Bureau? Who are they part of? For home inspections, some important ones are the ASHI, which is American Society of Home Inspections, and the InterNACHI. Not everybody is InterNACHI, but it is a great one to have as well. That one is International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And lastly, you need to ask, are they required to complete continuing education? So those in the real estate world, realtors and most home inspectors, if they are licensed, they are required to get continuing education courses every so many years in order to continue on their certification or their license. Um, it helps us to just stay informed so that we can better help you guys as the consumers. So, buyer's advice. A couple of things that I advise my clients when I am with them on home inspections, that is that it's not the inspector's position to advise you on what you should be asking for in negotiations. All they're there to do is to do the inspection and give you facts. It's up to you to decide if it's important to you, and your real estate agent will be able to help direct you and guide you on the things that might be not as big of a deal as you may think they are. But ultimately, it's your decision. Another thing is, say you're on the selling side and the home inspector accidentally breaks something. The objects that are break during a normal operation usually isn't the inspector's responsibility. However, if they have insurance and they're bonded, they're going to make sure that if it was something that was out of their troll, like, or if it was something that they truly did, they're going to make sure it gets fixed for you. If it's something that it was just, say it was this rusted piece of whatever pipe or something, and they literally just barely touched it and it fell apart, likely that's not really their fault. It was bound to happen whether you touched it or they touched it. And that sometimes objects are broken due to missteps of the inspector. Maybe they accidentally step through the ceiling when they're in the attic. That is the inspector's responsibility. They need to be more careful. You need to, when you're the buyer and you're there, you need to make arrangements for the inspection fee payment, if you haven't already. Most oftentimes, the inspector will send you a contract letting you know that when they're going to be there, what time, what what your expectations should be of them, and then they're going to ask for payment before they even get there. But some of them will actually allow you to pay when they're there. Usually, home inspections take anywhere between 2 and 4 hours. So if it's something that you want to go to, you don't have to be there. Your agent can be there on your behalf. Not all agents go. I personally do, but make sure you're taking that time and being prepared for that time to just be gone. So maybe you should take a half day of work, or maybe schedule it on a day where you don't have to work, so it's not impeding in your daily routine. Let's see, what else do I have for you? I loved this part. He said there's a thing called buyer freakout syndrome. So if a buyer, I guess as your realtor, make sure that when you pick whom your realtor is or who your inspector is, that they've set realistic expectations in the beginning so that you're not freaking out, because they're going to call out everything they see. But some things are not going to be a big deal. Like they're going to, oh, you need GFCIs. That's not a huge deal, and it's a super cheap and easy fix to make. So if you're handy, or you know someone in your family that is handy, you don't need an electrician to do that. You can get it done yourself. And if it's a matter, especially in this market today, you want the fewest things that you ask for from your sellers as you possibly can, without, of course, I guess for lack of a better term, screwing yourself. You don't want them to walk all over you, and you don't want to just give them everything. But on the other hand, some things are minor that can totally and easily be fixed yourself. Inspectors do not kill the deals. Conditions and people, they kill the deal. So it's just a matter of have the trust and the faith in whoever your agent is to be standing on your behalf. If you don't trust them, then it's going to be really hard for you to purchase a home or to sell a home. They're supposed to be your confidant. They're the one that's supposed to be there. They've got the knowledge. They've got the experience, and they're the professionals. So they're the ones that are going to be able to help direct you and guide you, especially when it's your first time. So if you don't trust your real estate agent, then you need to find somebody else. You have to be able to trust them. All right. How does the home inspection benefit the seller? Okay, say you're a seller. It's going to eliminate, you can do a pre-inspection prior to listing your property. And I think it's a great idea. I would do it myself if I were to be selling my own home, because one, it eliminates surprises later on. So you already have a report. You know what things could possibly come up and what things that maybe are kind of more major that you probably should take care of ahead of time. Or at least that way, or if you don't want to, at least you're expecting that there's a possibility it's going to be requested within the inspection when the buyer gets theirs. Or if you have one and they trust the people you had your home inspection from, they may just use that and look at that and not bother with getting a secondary inspection for themselves. So there's some benefits to having a home inspection done prior to listing your home. It could also prevent the seller from, um, as a buyer, if you get it, it can prevent the seller from downplaying significant conditions. So something that they may not think is very important, but you're like, no, I'm the one living in here. Just because you didn't like it, or maybe you never lived there, doesn't mean that it's not significant. Those are just like the main things. Okay, what should the report contain? It's going to contain major items like the foundation, the structure of the home, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, the sewer, the pest, radon, if there's a pool, um, a well, or mold. Now, they're not going to do like a sewer lateral. That's what you do need a separate sewer plumber, or a company that does sewer lateral inspections. That's aside of your regular home inspection. And the same thing, most home inspectors will also do radon, and they also can. Some of them may um, contract out for pest solution, or you can choose whomever you want for pest solution to have like termite testing and stuff like that done. Again, let me just say that when they're checking these things, they are not experts at any of this. They're just checking the overall look and view. So they're not a roofer. They don't really know. So if you're worried about something, have a roofer come out. Most of the times they'll give free consultations to come out and make sure that it's something that's either okay or not before you freak out on whether or not there's wear and tear or if there's an actual damage. Same thing with foundation. Some cracks are normal. They're called stress cracks. If it's concern, call a basement crack person. Have them come in and give you a consultation. They're usually free. Your agent, I'm sure, has someone in their back pocket called a preferred partner that will come out and give you their professional opinion on that specific thing. The home inspector is just pointing out major things. They're trained for that kind of thing, but they are not professionals in each one of those individual things. So make sure that you, if it's something that's of concern, when you get that report, that you are getting your due diligence done with having a professional do it. If something's not checked, why? Usually it's because it's not normally operated. So maybe the main water shut off for vacant homes, or the breakers turned off, or maybe because it was vacant, the gas was turned off, or the pilot light was turned off. So it wasn't, if it's not on, it's not checked. And it will state that in the report. Okay. So if you are going to list a house and you're going to be the seller, and say it's a vacant property and you've never lived in there, make sure that when you go to list it, that you have the utilities turned on, if not at listing, so that way people who coming to visit, especially when it's hot out here in Missouri, that people aren't going in and sweating their butt off. But also if they go when it's maybe overcast, it's not so dark and they can actually see. But if it's really an issue, then go ahead and wait, but make sure you turn them on for inspections. Because if not, then there's a requirement to have it re-inspected, and you could possibly get charged for that. All right, what about repairs? Okay, so most inspections are not going to prescribe how something should be repaired, but they're going to tell you kind of what the end result should be. So this is how it looks, and this is how it should be. Make your own decision on whether or not you think it's sufficient. Some repairs vary huge. There's a big variation in price and cost for them to get fixed, and not one is related to the other. Sometimes it's an easy fix that you can do yourself or someone in your family can do, and sometimes it's something that you really need someone in that profession to do. Maybe there's some wires that are crossed and you need an electrician to come in. Maybe there's something going on with a slow drain. You probably want a plumber to look at that. I mean, if you're handy and you're a jack of all trades and you want to give it a shot, great, but be careful with that in areas where they require occupancy inspections, because you have to have that inspection done, and if you don't do it properly, then they will fail you, and they will keep failing you until it's done properly. And some counties and some cities, they will actually make you have a professional do it. You're not allowed to do certain things on your own. So be very careful about fixing your own things unless you know what you're doing. Sometimes it ends up costing more for you to fix it yourself because you end up having to hire someone anyway than if you just would have hired someone from the front. So home inspectors cannot do repairs. If something's shut off, say that you got a sink in your laundry room or your garage and that's not turned on, inspector will not turn it on, and he will not repair anything that looks like it might be, if it's leaking, they won't do that. So hopefully you don't have a leak, because they can't shut it off or turn it on or fix anything. Okay. A home inspection is not a guarantee. If a home inspector overlooks something, though, but per the standards of practice, he or she should be willing to be able to satisfy the client. Internachi, one of those programs I told you guys about, they advertise a buyback guarantee. So if the inspector was unable to find any articles about a buyback that actually took place, then you can do your own research on the Internachi website. Let's see. You just have to research that yourself for buyback. I don't really know much about it, so just be careful when you're choosing your home inspector. Or if you don't know one, then ask your agent. We all have home inspectors that we work with that we know are going to do a good job. Okay, very important. One of the things is your home inspector insured? I mentioned earlier that they should be insured and possibly bonded. So they should have errors and omissions coverage. Even though Missouri does not require it, make sure, one of the things that would be very beneficial to you is to make sure that they do have it. A good question might be, ask them how many claims have been made, or maybe even per occurrence would be better. If they're not willing to disclose that, there might be an issue. Ask them how much their general liability is for, and ask if they have workers' comp. Some other questions might be, have they provided certificates of insurance before? What's the structure of their company? Are they likely, one of the things you might want to ask yourself were they around a few years ago, or are they a new company? And what are their reviews? Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say is, what's the difference between bond, license, and insurance? So I spoke a little bit of all three of those, but I'm going to give you kind of the definition, I guess, per se. I mean, you can't really go to Webster and, I mean, I guess you could, but in this specific instance, bond means it assures performance, usually in connection with a contractor. License, although there's no licensing requirements for home inspectors in most states, and Missouri does not have any licensing or requirements. However, a lot of them that, well, the ones that I work for or work with are licensed. So just that be a question that you might want to ask. So a person can come into your office and tell you that they're, or they can come to your house or whatever and tell them that they're a home inspector and not have any training basically, or certification or experience. So being licensed, they have been trained or certified or had gone to some kind of classes to get that license. And then insurance. Insurance indemnifies the damaged party, so it makes well or returns to the original state. If they damage anything. And that is really all I have for you guys today. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. People are starting to come out of the woodworks again and starting to buy. So there are still, everybody is still using precautions. We are still using masks and gloves. If you feel comfortable, you're not required to, but if you feel comfortable or if you want your realtor or your inspector to wear one, then if they are not already doing it, then request it and don't feel ashamed to do so. I hope you guys have a great day. If you have, as usual, if you have any questions, please comment on this video and I will get answers to your questions whenever I can. Or you can private message me as well. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.